Yo, Justin Anderson, student embalmer extraordinaire. We out here doing our stuff. We want to talk to you a little bit about cavity embalming. One of the things that a lot of embalmers in yesteryear, looking back in retrospect, had to decide was whether they were going to be a gut puncher or a throat cutter, meaning whether they were going to be a throat cutter, meaning that they would choose to embalm arterially, using the arteries as an avenue to treat all the tissues with the preserving solution of their choice, or whether they were going to hypodermically embalm the body in its entirety, meaning they were gut punchers. Okay, so you had two different distinct styles of embalming retrospectively in yesteryear. You had either an individual was a throat cutter, meaning he embalmed arterially, possibly the local chemical company came by and showed him how to raise arteries, gave him an embalming certificate, and he was jamming, or you was a gut puncher, meaning you just hypodermically embalm the body. Today, because of what we know about what we want to share with you being the dangerous 8%, meaning that there's an 8% chance that if we do not treat the viscera properly, we will have all kinds of microbiological crap going on in our bodies. So we just want to briefly holler at you real quick about treating the body with cavity embalming. Why do we use cavity embalming? The first reason we use cavity embalming is to treat the viscera and the abdominal cavity. We also slow down the decomposition that is occurring in the cavity. And then also, we all know that the arterial solution does not reach the viscera. So what we're doing is we are treating the viscera, the organs inside the torso. We're treating those organs because arterial embalming does not allow us to access those organs so that our solution can penetrate all of those tissues. So in order to be guilty of thorough embalming, and let me put you on some game, don't ever rush your embalming. It takes time to properly embalm a body. We want to make sure that after we have thoroughly injected fluid in the remains arterially, we want to make sure that we aspirate and inject cavity fluid in those remains. So cavity embalming process entails two distinct things: aspiration and injection. Let me say that again: aspiration and injection. Say it with me: aspiration and injection. What is aspiration? Aspiration is using either a hydro aspirator, electric aspirator, a hand pump, or an air machine to get all of the excess fluids out of the torso. We want our torso, our viscera, to be a dry daddy. And we also and how do we get this fluid out of the torso? Well, we use a device that we call a trocar. A trocar is a long hollow metal tube with a sharp point used to pierce the wall of the abdomen and the internal organs. It attaches to the aspiration device to perform the aspiration, and we also use this to inject cavity fluid. Now, me personally, I don't inject cavity fluid with a hydro aspirator or my trocar. I actually inject cavity fluid with the old gravity injection thing, and I tell you why I choose the gravity injection thing over doing it by hand, or doing the hand gravity injection thing like some people do. I don't like the hold your hand gravity injection thing because you can get exposure to very strong cavity fluid. I use that 55 on deck. That 55 go, right? So what we want to do is we want to let you know that we don't use the trocar for injecting fluid, but we do use the trocar for aspirating. And when we aspirate, what we want to do is we have all of these organs in the viscera. So we have the apex of the heart, we got the spleen, we got the pancreas, the stomach, the colon, we got the cecum, we have the liver, and we have the intestine and the bladder. And very briefly, I'm gonna share with you how I aspirate. Everybody does their own thing, so let me share with you what I normally do, and I'm gonna get out your way. What we normally do first and foremost when we aspirate is normally some people close up the incision before they aspirate. What I normally do is if I make an incision at the clavicle, right? I'm going to, before I insert the trocar into the stomach, are you ready for this tip? I'm going to insert the trocar into the incision of the clavicle. It gives me direct access to the heart. Bah! Heart tap. It's blood coming all out that deal. Plus, I can get all the drainage from up there. So instead of starting to aspirate down at the umbilicus, I'm going to start here at the clavicle and go straight to the heart. You right there. You get all the fluid out the heart, all the fluid out that area, right? You jamming. You got to be careful though when you're doing that not to go too low, because if you go too low, then you got all kind of contaminants, because what you did was this cross contamination thing. You went too far, maybe you hit the stomach or the intestine. Now you bring in that all that bacteria and stuff all the way up. So you got to be careful to make sure you're at the right angle so you can go right in the heart and blood. You will see it, if you're doing right. Okay, now that we've aspirated from the clavicle, our incision, right? We're going to let that still drain out and chill, kick back like a G. We're going to leave that open. And now we're going to actually go into the umbilicus, and we're going to go straight up to all the way up in the throat. And we're going to choke them. You got to choke them. Choke them. We're going to choke them because we got all kind of fluid that's in the neck, all kind of fluid that's up in here, so we're gonna choke them. Choke. So we can get all of that fluid out of there. All of that. You choke, right? We're gonna choke them, then we're gonna hit them in the heart again. So we already hit them in the heart from the clavicle. Now we're gonna hit them in the heart, right, from the umbilicus. That's just the beginning of our aspiration, right? Now we are going to take our time. Remember, embalming takes time. We're going to take our time. We're going to aspirate all of the organs in the viscera. All of them. We're going to hit the spleen. We're going to hit the stomach. We're going to hit the pancreas. We're going to hit the bladder. We're going to hit the cecum. We're going to hit the liver, right? And listen to this. And what we're going to do is we're going to poke holes in the intestines. Why we poking holes in the intestines? We poking holes in the intestines to let go of the gases in the stomach. Poke them up real good. Stab them up. Poke holes in the intestines. After we poke holes in the intestines and we've gotten all the fluid out the bladder, we've gotten all the fluid out the stomach, the liver. Take your time with the liver. Sometimes, depending on the case, you'll get a lot of bilirubin out of the liver, especially with your jaundice cases, right? When we finish with that, all we're going to do is take our instrument of our choice. I been using lately this gun thing that they bought us, little injector gun thing, and it does work good for me. And what we'll do is we're going to take our time, and just like we aspirated all of the organs, we're going to shoot cavity and fluid in the organs, and we grab a trocar applicator, grab a trocar button, and let them sit overnight. Then, before we dress them, after we've allowed the osmotic process to take place, we're going to unwrap them, clean them up again. And before we re-wrap them, because everybody should be wrapped, because you never know what could happen. Bodies kind of do their own things. Doesn't make a difference how good of an embalmer you are. Before we re-wrap them, we re-aspirate them just to make sure we can. Never could be too careful. Always checking, double checking. That's funeral industry. And then you already got cavity embalming fluid. You suture them up. Next thing, you sew up all your incisions, do a little glue, do your stuff, and we done. So Cavity embalming, the dangerous 8%. Justin Anderson, we out.